At the office. No phone calls, no messages, nothing but junk mail and overdue bills to keep me company. Seems nobody wants to hire a real private dick anymore, a professional like me. A guy who does the detective work nobody else wants to do. A guy who wears hats and walks around in a black and white world. I began contemplating a more profitable line of work, like politics.
We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to you.
All right, folks, good afternoon and welcome to the very first show of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN Radio Central. Here we are, first show. I was here this morning, filling in for Jerry Doherty on Political Thursday. We had some glitches there. I'm broadcasting from the palatial but not overly ostentatious studios in Westborough, Massachusetts, high atop the Carberry Towers. Today, behind the glass, fly on the board. There you go. He'll get you set up and into the studio for two-way talk and conversation at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Let's not forget our text line up and running at 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388. It appears on the screen here in the studio in real time, and we try to work it into the conversation. Don't forget, we do stream, meaning WCRN 24/7 on the TuneIn app. It's a great way to take us anywhere. Listen on your radio, car radio, kitchen radio, whatever. Tune into 830, but you can also listen to us on your device. That's your laptop, tablet, cell phone, whatever it is. TuneIn is a fantastic app on your phone and your device, and it's awesome. We have a lot of people who listen via the streaming there. Check out WCRNradio.com. You can look at our hosts, our lineup, and we have this fantastic feature on there, folks. I want to remind you of that because it's called the replay link. So whatever show airs, within a minute or two after coming off the air, it is saved on the website on the replay link, and you can hit that replay link under either the schedule or the host. And whatever, so when I get off the air at 2 o'clock by 2:01, you can just click and listen to the hour beforehand or even download it. But you can also follow Joe Mangiacotti Show on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play, wherever you get your podcasts. Check it out there. And, of course, you can go to my social media platforms at Joe Mangi Show, M-A-N-G-I, Joe Mangi Show, as I am streaming live right now on Facebook, X, Twitch, LinkedIn profile, and even Rumble TV. And the show is then turned around and loaded up to the new streaming channel called Torch TV. So you can always check out the past shows on Torch TV. And same thing, just like Hulu or Freebie or Netflix, any of those that you get off your streaming device. That would be Fire Stick, Roku, or Smart TV. All right, folks. Lines are open and available. I'd love to hear from you for the first show of 2025. I can't believe I'm alive for 2025. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. 508-871-7000. That's how you get into it. Two-way talking conversation. We are the common sense conversation for the common sense citizen. And I am thrilled to be here with you today. And standing on the dawn of this new chapter of our generation, right? We're a quarter of the way through the new millennium. We've got a new president coming in with a very distinct philosophy, a very distinct set of ideals for what it is he's going to do and what he sees our country and where we got to go. In the events over the last couple of days with New Year's and all, I mean, if that doesn't tell you we need to make changes, I'm not sure what is going to illustrate that to you. So let's not sugarcoat it. The past few years have been challenging. From the economic uncertainty to global instability, many of us have felt that we've been navigating stormy seas. But there is good news, and here is some good news. There's a new captain at the helm. Hasn't been sworn in yet, but we know Daddy's home. He's pulled in the driveway. He's getting out of the car. He's coming in any moment. It's time just to get the buddies out the back door and straighten out the house. And the ship is turning towards calmer, more prosperous waters. The Trump administration is ushering in a wave of optimism, opportunity, a renewed commitment to the principles that made America the greatest nation on earth. We've got to get back to that. Look at the incredible team being assembled. the cabinet nominations, and agency heads who are not just qualified but driven by passion to serve this country. And they're on the same page. And he's not pulling from the swamp. He's not pulling them all from within the Beltway. So they're going to be leaders who understand that government should work for the people, not against them. The days of bureaucratic gridlock and complacency are over. And let's talk about respect. Under this administration, the United States will no longer be a bystander on the world stage. World leaders will once again respect, yes, even fear, the power and resolve of this great nation. We will stand firm in our commitments, protect our allies, and ensure that our enemies think twice before challenging us. And energy is the key to a lot of it, folks. It's not just a cutesy slogan, drill baby drill. It's actually a vital national security policy. It's going to be plentiful, affordable, and a driving force behind our economy. American innovation will lead the charge, creating jobs and securing independence from foreign oil. And our military, it will be rebuilt, rearmed, and unmatched. The mightiest force the world has ever known will stand ready to defend freedom and democracy wherever they are threatened. But let's not stop there. The hope I feel isn't just about power and prosperity. It's also about purpose. This is our chance to secure our borders and welcome the brightest and the best. Immigrants who share our values and are ready to contribute to this great experiment called America. We are, after all, a nation of immigrants. And that diversity has always been our strength because they have come here to assimilate. They have come here to take part in, participate in, and build the American dream. This new chapter is a chance for all of us to play a part in shaping the future. Let's embrace it with open arms and open minds. Together, we can steer this country back into the path of greatness. One where opportunity abounds, our children thrive, the American dream remains alive for generations to come. Buckle up, folks. The winds of change are blowing, and they're blowing in the right direction. No pun intended. It's a new day for America, and it's one filled with hope, promise, and the determination to reclaim our place as the shining city on the hill. So stay tuned, because we've got a lot to talk about. You can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Get into the studio. Ted will set you up, get you up here on the screen. Don't forget the text line is also up and running. Now, this incident in Louisiana is disturbing. And it's the radicalization and accountability here. The role of religious institutions and extremism. Of course, I'm monitoring the news, looking at the news. It's kind of changing. Could change while I'm on the air. We had the truck, a Tesla Cybertruck, was parked purposefully in front of the Trump International Tower Hotel in Las Vegas, and it exploded. The truck didn't explode, but it was in fact explosives in the bed of the truck. And the nature of the Cybertruck, if you're not all that familiar with it, it's a pretty solid vehicle. Now, it's still electric, and that means it has the problems and chemicals that electric batteries have. And then they're far from green. This is for another show, another conversation, but just stating it, folks. Electric vehicles are one of the furthest things from green vehicles. Until the energy, the electricity that vehicle is running on is from the ethos that Nikola Tesla talked about, or it's coming from solar or wind, which, by the way, have their problems. Solar panels are very toxic. What do you do with them when they're done? We have the same problems with windmills. So that's another conversation. But the thing about the truck itself, it's like a tank. It's stainless steel. Even the glass on a Cybertruck, a Tesla truck, happens to be bullet resistant. I mean, up to a certain caliber. So when this explosion happened, it did direct it straight up. Even the glass doors at Trump International didn't even break, shatter, or even crack. That was actually probably something the person overlooked, and I'd call it a terrorist overlooked that. May not have realized that he was actually directing the explosion straight up, and it was safer. But the recent revelation that the Bourbon Street terrorist, Shams Din Javad, attended a local mosque has sparked more significant debate, of course. Now, the mosque's Instagram statement following the deadly attack that claimed at least 15 lives at this point has drawn scrutiny for its tone and its content. The essay examines the broader implications of such responses, the responsibilities of religious institutions, and the challenges of investigating radicalization while respecting religious freedoms. And earlier, if you missed it, part of what I talked about was actually that balance between security and freedoms. Many of the freedoms that we willingly gave up or acknowledged were going to be tramped on after 9/11 versus the feeling. And I always say feeling of security because the feeling of security versus the actual security don't always equal up. And just because you might feel particularly secure and safe doesn't mean you are. So there's a couple balls in the air here, the freedoms versus safety, and then the feeling of safety, the perception of safety, and the actual safety that we have. I remember listening to my dad talk as a child, and whatever there were conversations about. Don't forget, Ronald Reagan was attempted assassination when I was a young guy. And my father had always said to me, is, if you really want to kill the president of the United States, or anybody for that matter, you can do it. You can do it. So we know anything can be done if there's enough planning and determination. But folks, we have to take our very first break of 2025 in the Joe Mangiacotti Show, Thursday edition here. Thank you for joining me. I am really, really pleased to be here and I feel honored to be here. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. 508-871-7000. Back in 2 and 10, folks. Stick with us.
Looking for guidance as you face a future on Social Security? It's hard to figure out on your own, but MedicareAdvisors.com is a completely independent insurance agency specializing in Medicare insurance planning. We work with the top insurance companies so we can offer our clients the best coverage for them. We design plans with a focus on low costs, which we combine with personalized insurance advice aimed at helping our clients make better informed decisions. Russ Swallow is a certified senior advisor and a licensed insurance advisor. He's been helping clients with their health insurance needs since 1970. And after a failed attempt at retirement, he created the Medicare Advisors in 2014. Russ concluded that since Medicare is health insurance, he might as well put his almost 50 years of health insurance experience to good use, as 75,000 people reach age 65 in Massachusetts every year, and they can use some help. Call Russ today at 508-831-0805. Put his years of personal experience to work for you as you try to unravel the complexities of Social Security.
Discover the Yatco difference today. At Yatco Fuel Service and Food Stations, excellence isn't just a goal, it's our commitment to you. We're dedicated to providing you with top-notch customer service and the finest products, making your life easier every step of the way. Celebrating over 30 years of fueling the community with 14 convenient locations throughout Massachusetts. Whether it's filling up your tank or grabbing a quick snack, we've got you covered. Yatco Fuel Service and Food Stations. Fueling your journey, fueling your life.
Nurses know it's about more than just medical skill. It's about being present, enduring, and caring. But not all settings make it easy. Enter Family Lives, a nonprofit home health care agency run by nurses who know nurses. Our nurses provide continuous care to patients with complex conditions. And this work permits nurses to foster relationships. The best part? We take care of our nurses too. Family Lives offers a comprehensive benefits package. Join us in caring for others and being cared for yourself. Call Family Lives at 508-475-0493.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second segment of the Thursday afternoon edition, the very first show of 2025, this Thursday at 1 o'clock. I join you every weekday afternoon from 1 to 2, except for Fridays. The Carr Brothers come in with the Carr Brothers Show. Fantastic show to listen to. I like those guys. They do a great job. And then Friday, don't forget Dadder Day. That's in there. And we got Lee Debt. Of course, Hank Stoltz every morning. We got a great lineup. Howie Carr, new hours, by the way. If you haven't heard, you might find out by accident then. Howie's new hours going forward for 2025 is 3 to 6. He's dropping the fourth hour. So that's what we'll be doing. We'll be carrying him as we always do. So that's a change in some of the programming. A few more is coming up, but we'll let you know as they do change. You can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. That will get you into the studio for two-way talk and conversation. And don't forget, you can also text us at 617-297-8388. Now, this incident, I don't have a thought on this. See, this mosque's statement that they published, it expressed concern about the safety of our community. It's them posting it. It encouraged members to contact the Council on American Islamic Relations. You might have seen that acronym around CAIR, C-A-I-R. That's what it stands for, Council on American Islamic Relations. Now, the inclusion, the inclusion phrase, or the phrases such as act of terror, in quotation marks, and calls to stay united. Now, that raises legitimate questions about the message's intent. I always have some suspicion and questions about its intent. But critics argue that this focus on the internal unity and the perceived external threats, I think it deflects attention from the attack itself and the victims who have suffered so far. Well, it's understandable for any community to seek to protect itself from backlash. The statement's language could be interpreted as defensive or dismissive of the broader tragedy that we're dealing with here. See, religious institutions, particularly those attended by individuals involved in extremist acts with those histories, they have a responsibility to address concerns about radicalization openly and transparently. If there is no connection between the mosque and Jabbar's radicalization, then a firm condemnation of the attack and a clear commitment to assisting authorities should be front and center. Anything less is suspicious, and I would argue obstructive. So if this mosque wants to distance themselves from Jabbar and Jabbar's radicalization, they should clearly and forcefully tell us that and then be cooperative. The mention of Carr in an organization with a controversial history regarding ties to radical groups, that only adds to the skepticism. If the mosque has nothing to hide, why not unequivocally denounce the attacker's actions and provide full cooperation with the investigators? Not a difficult question. Simple question, common sense question, wouldn't you say? But this radicalization has to be investigated. The challenge for authorities lies in balancing the need for a thorough investigation with the protection of religious freedoms guaranteed by the Constitution. Radicalization is a complex process. It often involves multiple influences, including online propaganda, social isolation, personal grievances. And this is a situation where we've seen prior to this kind of social media revolution, right? We're seeing Elon Musk has jumped into the MAGA movement with both feet, but we see Zuckerberg making the pilgrim, Jeff Bezos, right? Everybody's going down to Mar-a-Lago. And they want to work with Trump. But it wasn't always like this, folks, right? I'm old enough to remember a couple of years ago. And the Twitter files confirmed and exposed a lot of this. But we're talking about social media platforms that removed the president of the United States but allowed radical or radicalizing extremists to continue to stay on the former Twitter and Facebook, for that matter, recruit and say horrible things. There's no oversight there or censorship there. Now, mosques, like any other religious institution, are not inherently responsible for the action of their members. Right? If you're Muslim, does not automatically make you believe one thing or behave a certain way, nor does being Christian or Jewish, Buddha, Hindu. Keep going. However, if evidence emerges that a specific institution played a role in fostering extremist ideologies, it must be held accountable. Transparency about funding sources, teaching materials, that's a reasonable expectation, particularly in cases where connections to foreign entities or radical groups are suspected or even established. So transparency and accountability, man, those words are there again. They come up a lot, do they not? Now, to respond to this situation also highlights inconsistencies in how different religions and religious communities are treated by the media and public discourse. If a similar statement had been issued by a Christian church under comparable circumstances, it's likely the press and public would demand more rigorous scrutiny. Yeah. And we're talking about until Trump administration gets there and Patel gets in there. This FBI had that internal memo about Catholic churches, even wanting to put people undercover in Catholic churches and treating Christians as a problem. So would it demand more rigorous, or would it just get it? I don't know if it would demand it. Under this current leadership at the FBI and DOJ, they would do it. A consistent standard should apply to all institutions, regardless of their religious affiliations. And being a religious organization, a religion, I mean, it doesn't mean you're hands off, especially if you're helping to fund and organize terrorism or radicalization. But there needs to be a certain amount of respect equally applied to all religions. So the conclusion, well, what is it? The Bourbon Street attack underscores the devastating consequences of radicalization and, of course, the need for accountability at all levels. While it is essential to protect religious freedoms, institutions linked to individuals involved in extreme acts must demonstrate a commitment to transparency and, of course, public safety. We're back to, if you're not part of this, cooperate, be transparent, work with the investigators, condemn the actions. Yes, they might have attended your church or your mosque or your temple, but are you going to allow their bad actions to be representative of the bigger community for the church, temple, or mosque as a whole? Now, this mosque statement, as it stands, raises more questions than it does answers, folks, for the victims and for their families, as well as for the broader communities. These questions deserve clear and honest responses. Only through open dialogue and diligent investigation can society address the root causes of radicalization and prevent future tragedies. Before coming on, the last report that I could find on this about the truck versus Louisiana, they found no connection. The superficial connection, they have both military veterans served in the same places, and they happen to rent the vehicles through the same app. We still call that a coincidence, but it's something we should examine. Something that, well, it deserves a second or third look, don't you think? Of course it does. Absolutely it does. What are you going to do then? Well, the mosque and these people, they should do exactly what they need to do and what I outlined, and that is cooperation, transparency, and condemn the actions. You have to condemn those actions. As I talked about earlier, if you missed it, there is this incredible balancing act, and I'm not sure if we've found it, and I'm not sure if we can find it, between safety and security that we expect our government to provide. That's the social contract we have. We fund the government, and a big portion of that is our military. But beyond us funding this incredible fighting machine called the United States military, we're also funding our police departments, our sheriff's departments, the DEA, Border Patrol, ICE, and then all the bureaucracies, right, that have enforcement branches. The IRS, for crying out loud. Remember? 85,000 agents. And when the ads came out, we talked about it on this show. Advertising for IRS auditor agents who are comfortable carrying a weapon. When we get into the number of armed IRS agents and the amount of ammunition the government is buying, I think that's of concern. Why does EPA officials, why do they need armed investigators? But we're funding all kinds of protective or allegedly protective type of agencies and branches. What say you on that? 508-871-7000. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Don't forget our text line is 617-297-8388. 617-297-8388. And you can always listen and watch on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch TV, LinkedIn profile, Rumble on the Joe Mangiacotti Show, and of course, Facebook page for the station. Do me a favor, go to WCRN 830 AM on Facebook. Do me a favor, hit the like and follow button. I'd like to build up some social media following on the station's Facebook page. I'm streaming there as well, so a lot of ways to listen and talk. All right, folks, 508-871-7000. We're going to take our mid-show break here on the very first show of 2025, the Joe Mangiacotti Show. Stick with us, man. We'll be back in 2 and 10 right on the other side.
Time now for the forecast from the Boston Independence Group Weather Center. Call Jerry Doherty today at 877-772-1776. Retirement is within reach.
I'm meteorologist Sherry Spear, and here's the latest Boston 25 weather on Radio 830 WCRN. We've got a wind advisory today for some gusts up to 50, 55, even isolated 60-mile-per-hour gusts. With that, the risk for a few pockets of wind damage and power outages. Now, in general, it's going to be wind-blown, feeling chilly, with highs around 40 degrees and partly sunny skies. Winds stay pretty active for the end of the week and into the weekend as well. It's not going to be quite as gusty as today, but both Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, highs in the 30s and breezy conditions. I'm Sherry Spear, and you can hear Boston 25 live for the morning drive weekdays on AM 830 WCRN.
More live and local radio is next. Stay tuned to Radio Central 830 WCRN.
Looking for guidance as you face a future on Social Security? It's hard to figure out on your own. But MedicareAdvisors.com is a completely independent insurance agency specializing in Medicare insurance planning. We work with the top insurance companies so we can offer our clients the best coverage for them. We design plans with a focus on low costs, which we combine with personalized insurance advice aimed at helping our clients make better informed decisions. Russ Swallow is a certified senior advisor and a licensed insurance advisor. He's been helping clients with their health insurance needs since 1970. And after a failed attempt at retirement, he created the Medicare Advisors in 2014. Russ concluded that since Medicare is health insurance, he might as well put his almost 50 years of health insurance experience to good use, as 75,000 people reach age 65 in Massachusetts every year, and they can use some help. Call Russ today at 508-831-0805. Put his years of personal experience to work for you as you try to unravel the complexities of Social Security.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second half of the Thursday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830, WCRN Radio Central, from the center of the dial, the center of New England, and the center of information, AM 830 WCRN. Don't forget, we do stream the station 24/7 on the TuneIn app, so you can take us anywhere. That's a fantastic device or app to have on your device. We also have the replay link at WCRNradio.com, so you can listen to any show after it's aired, or within a minute or two of it actually going off the air. Now, my show is, of course, streamed live on social media platforms. It's also turned into a podcast, and you can subscribe to that wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Google Play, etc. You know how to do that stuff. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Lines are open and available. Be the first caller to the Joe Mangiacotti Show for 2025. 508-871-7000. Now, more specifically on the guy here behind this New Orleans attack, the deadly car attack on Bourbon Street during New Year's Eve celebrations. And it serves as a tragic reminder of the devastating effects of radicalization. So he's been identified. Shamadz Dun Baha Jabar. Now, the thing is, he is U.S. born. He's a citizen, born here in the U.S. He's an Army veteran. And he left a horrifying legacy of violence, taking the lives right now at 15 people. It's gone up since this morning. Because initially it was 12, with 30 plus people injured in the car. Nothing, it was an electric car, not a Cybertruck, but electric vehicle. And a lot of those people are in critical condition. So 15 innocent people are dead. Now the count could go up. The essay examines the factors that contributed to the attack, right? The challenges of addressing radicalization and the border implications of such acts of terror. A little bit on his background. Jabar's life was marked by a trajectory that began with promise but ended with devastation. Now, he's a former member of the 82nd Airborne Division. His military service highlighted a period of discipline and success. However, in his later years, he spent in a squalid trailer park in Houston, where his isolation and deteriorating circumstances may have contributed to his vulnerability to radical ideologies. Remember, these outfits, they look for certain personalities, and they look for people in certain circumstances to capitalize on those. Just because they're terrorists don't mean they're stupid. Don't mean that they don't have an understanding of psychology and human nature and need. And a lot of people who are in circumstances that they may not take accountability for, but would like to transfer those or that accountability to things beyond their control. It helps them find solace and home when somebody's telling you it's not your fault. It's the evil people around you. It's the evil country you live in. It's the evil government that you participate in. In this lead up to the attack, Jabar posted videos pledging allegiance to ISIS and even confessing his intent to harm his own family. These disturbing acts underline the complex interplay between personal struggles, mental health issues, and the susceptibility to extremist beliefs. They get in there. They're using social media. It has, after all, made the world a smaller place. Members of ISIS can be anywhere in the globe and reach right into somebody's living room because of the internet. Now, I'm one of the last people that's ever going to say we need to control the internet more and we need to shut it down. But there are instances, I feel, that cross over into national security. just like dating sites are fine, right? Hookup sites are fine. But if those sites start to get into underage sex trafficking, now law is being broken. And there has to be some safety nets there too. So Jabbar's younger brother, Abdir, he described the attacker as a kind and intelligent individual before radicalization took hold. Not a surprising description you would get from somebody's brother. You hope anyway. Kind and intelligent individual. But here's the catch, right? Before radicalization took hold. And the brother emphasized that the rampage does not represent Islam, a sentiment shared by many in the Muslim community who condemn violence and reject the perversions of their faith by extremist groups. Well, wouldn't you hope so? And this seems to be a conversation that we've had to have more times than I like. And I say this to members of the Islamic community and Muslims. You need to condemn the bad actions. You need to condemn the bad actors. Your silence is as bad. What's the old adage, right? All evil needs to flourish is that good men do nothing. So members of that community have got to condemn it and condemn the actions when people perverse the religion, perverse their faith. And it's done by extremists. Radicalization is a multifaceted process, and it often exploits personal grievances. And that's what it looks like was going on with this guy, right? Societal marginalization or psychological vulnerabilities. For Jabbar, his descent into extremism led to his fatal embrace of violence, exemplified by the use of an ISIS flag in a rented Ford F-150 Lightning EV pickup to execute that attack. And I think that might have triggered the first logical needs to look at these two. Are they connected? You have two people who rented electric trucks from the same app, albeit one is a Tesla Cybertruck and one's an F-150 EV. But they're both electric trucks used in two different circumstances and situations. So that would, you can see why, are these connected? What are the odds of that? And then this ISIS flag. Now, when I did Political Thursday earlier, one of the callers, Steve, I think, brought up the fact that somebody in the response actually curled up the flag. I don't know this. I'm taking this from Steve, the caller, and didn't want people in the media, once the media started taking pictures and cameras showed up, seeing the ISIS flag, blatantly seeing it. I think if it's part of it, it needs to be shared and put out there. But Jabbar, Shamadsdin Jabbar, he was killed in a shootout with the police following the attack. And remember, I don't know if I said it during the show or the earlier show, because I was watching the chief down there, older woman. It looked like she was an oversized white shirt with the big badge. It probably weighed more than her, but she seemed to be a very straight shooter and plain talker. He said, we had security. We had this stuff set up, and they just drove up around it. Again, I go back to the balance of freedoms and security, and what those tactics of having to stagger how you drive so you can't get up speed, right? But if you actually just go up on the sidewalk and around it, it defeats that purpose. But how much restriction in everyday life are we going to tolerate, or should we have to tolerate? And a lot of this should be handled long before they get to this point, but I'm digressing. So he died in the shootout. The authorities continue to investigate. The speculation that he may not have acted alone, and again, this connection to the electric trucks, raises critical questions about the networks that enabled such acts of terror and the strategies required to dismantle them now. Because we've actually had organizations like ACLU and stuff sue when certain things have tried to be done to prevent tragedies. And the tragedy also highlights the difficulties faced by law enforcement in identifying and intervening before radicalization individuals act. Right? This isn't the Minority Report. We can't arrest you before you actually commit a crime, but we can try to prevent it, stop it, arrest you for the smaller crimes that you may commit to get to or try to get to the bigger crime, the bigger act. In fostering community engagement, they're essential steps in preventing future incidences. They just are. And there are broader implications, right? The New Orleans attack underscores the global nature of radicalization and its ability to transform individuals remotely from thousands of miles away into agents of violence. Communities must grapple with the social, economic, and psychological factors that can lead to such outcomes, folks. And at this time, it's vital to separate the actions of individuals from the broader communities they claim to represent. Misrepresentation and prejudice against groups, especially Muslims, only serve to deepen societal divides and hinder collective efforts to combat extremism. So the Bourbon Street attack is a sobering reminder of the destructive power of radicalization and the urgent need for comprehensive strategies to address it, from a community outreach to a robust counterterrorism measure. The path forward requires collaboration and vigilance, folks. But we have to take our third and final break here in the Thursday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. You can do that for the remainder of the hour. 508-871-7000. All right, folks. We'll be back in 2 and 10. Stick with me.
Looking for guidance as you face a future on Social Security? It's hard to figure out on your own. But MedicareAdvisors.com is a completely independent insurance agency specializing in Medicare insurance planning. We work with the top insurance companies so we can offer our clients the best coverage for them. We design plans with a focus on low costs, which we combine with personalized insurance advice aimed at helping our clients make better informed decisions. Russ Swallow is a certified senior advisor and a licensed insurance advisor. He's been helping clients with their health insurance needs since 1970. And after a failed attempt at retirement, he created the Medicare Advisors in 2014. Russ concluded that since Medicare is health insurance, he might as well put his almost 50 years of health insurance experience to good use, as 75,000 people reach age 65 in Massachusetts every year, and they can use some help. Call Russ today at 508-831-0805. Put his years of personal experience to work for you as you try to unravel the complexities of Social Security.
Polar Park is the place to play, so treat yourself to a private suite at the best ballpark in AAA. Suite rentals are the best way to enjoy a fully catered and climate-controlled experience at the park. Whether you choose to watch the game from inside of the suite or out in your seats, it's the ultimate experience for a special occasion. Visit WooSox.com or call 508-500-8888 to reserve your suite today.
Divorce and remarriage. It's a controversial subject clearly addressed in the Bible. Each weekend, Pastor Ray McMahon shares the truth of God's Word on the unbreakable covenant of marriage during the Jesus is Our Shepherd broadcast. Don't miss this opportunity to learn God's instructions by listening to the Jesus is Our Shepherd broadcast each weekend on this station.
Tune in every Sunday at noon.
All right, folks, welcome back to the fourth and final segment of the Thursday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN Radio Central. That's right. Don't forget, you can take us anywhere in the TuneIn app. Just put it on your device, seconds to download it. Punch in WCRN. You're going to see the cool new logo we have, Radio Central, WCRN 830. And once you hit that, we'll be easy to find. We'll know you're there. And you can take us anywhere and visit WCRNradio.com. You can look up the hosts, you can look up the times, the shows, and we have the really cool replay link. So as soon as the show ends, it's available as a replay. Now, my show is also there under me as a host at the time, but I also stream the show live, and then it is converted to a podcast style, and wherever you get your podcasts, you can subscribe to it. So that's Spotify, Google, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, they have them all. Wherever you get your favorite podcast, check it out. Lines are open and available, 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Give us a call. What say you? 2025. We're off and running now. Yesterday was a holiday. Today's the first kind of working day. And what do you see forward here? And unfortunately, the Cybertruck in the Louisiana, they aren't the only things. We had some tragedy in Queens, a mass shooting outside a nightclub. Mass shootings have become really a grim fixture in modern society. And we always get the same roundabout argument and debate, right, with gun control and all. But each event is, in fact, it's a stark reminder of the fragility of safety in public spaces. And that seems to be a big theme in today's shows, because we're always balancing public safety and freedoms and rights that we have. In the shooting outside and it's Amazurg nightclub in Queens yesterday or last night is a chilling example. This horrific incident left at least 10 people injured, predominantly teenagers. Underscores the urgent need for communities and policymakers to address the gun violence comprehensively, but not with gun regulation. Right? That's the knee-jerk reaction. And I talk about this, and it feels like talking to a wall sometimes. Responsible gun owners, and I'm going to keep it for the moment now to Massachusetts, because Massachusetts has and has had some of the toughest gun laws in the country for many years. And what I mean by that, we have the Fox-Bartlett law that isn't really enforced, and that just simply says if you are found to be carrying a firearm, illegally carrying a firearm, meaning you did not go through the tedious process of an application, training, and background check to get a license to carry a concealed permit here in Massachusetts, you are supposed to do a mandatory jail time of 1 year. Not many people have gone to jail because they've illegally carried a firearm. And usually when that charge is there because it's connected with the fact that they're bad actors who committed a bigger crime, and one of the charges thrown at them was the Fox-Bartlett, that gets pleaded out or dropped because they're going after the armed robbery or whatever the bigger crime is there. So when you say, well, we need tougher gun laws, do you really? Why don't you enforce the laws we already have? Stop putting more laws on the people that actually follow the laws, because you're making it harder for them to rightfully and legally protect themselves, own guns. Because most people who have an LTC, folks, probably belong to the NRA or one of the mass organizations. Pretty good chance they go to a range or belong to a club like Hopkinton Sports Association or something. They have multiple, shooting ranges, indoor, out, skeet competition. It's a club. It has its own pond, fishing, archery even. Point is, those people are responsible, and they're not the people you tend to have to worry about but they will follow the law because that's what they do. But the jamokes who are telling us we need tougher legislation, are they going into the south side of Chicago to get the illegal guns? I don't think so. So this happened around 11:20 last night, and a group of 4 men unleashed at least 30 bullets into a crowd gathered near the Amazura nightclub after a private event. In the venue known for hosting DJs and live performances, it became a scene of chaos. 6 females and 4 males, aged 16 to 20. Now, these are people who can't legally or shouldn't be carrying firearms for protection. They should be unarmed. They were struck with gunfire. Despite the severity of the attack, though, none of the victims sustained life-threatening injuries. Now, that's according to NYPD. And thank God for that. You shoot 30 rounds into a crowd of nightclub people and nobody loses a life. That's actually pretty amazing. And authorities swiftly transported those injured to some nearby hospitals, including Long Island Jewish Hospital, the Cohen Children's Medical Center. Now, videos posted on social media platforms captured the massive police and ambulance response. And remember, because of New Year's Eve, all of New York was very heightened, right? Mayor Adams was on TV talking about how much they're locking down, how much police presence was going to be there. It was almost as with this new administration coming in, it was okay to talk about law and order and enforcement. Kind of different. So I think, I'm spitballing here, but I'm thinking that this was residual from New Year's Eve, that there's still a lot of police and ambulances standing by. So there was a massive police and ambulance response very quickly, with NYPD investigators meticulously documenting evidence at the crime scene. They have to do that. That's their job. But in the larger conversation on this, folks, the shooting raises numerous concerns about the proliferation of gun violence, particularly in urban areas, and especially those in Butler, Pennsylvania. The fact that the perpetrators used light-colored sedans to execute a coordinated attack, suggests premeditation and highlights challenges in preventing such crimes. Because I do go back to what I learned as a child, what I was told by my father. Doesn't matter. If you're hell-bent on killing the president of the United States, you can do it. Especially if you're willing to sacrifice yourself and others. So unless we lived as if we were incarcerated, there is always an element out there, which is why you have to take some things upon yourself. Self-awareness, situational awareness, understand what's going on around you. Try not to put yourself into situations where you're vulnerable and you have no exit. You should always have an exit strategy. And for those that are comfortable with it, get a license to carry. I wouldn't recommend that unless there's a couple of things there. One is you're actually doing it the right way and not just because the chief said, go take this course. Take the course you have to take, but go take the course that's good for you. Go take a really good course. Because you don't want to go from not being someone familiar with firearms one day and getting a permit, and then you get to have as many as you want the next day if you haven't learned how to handle them. And that includes the storing of them, the transferring of them, the loading of them, the cleaning of them. That's a responsibility you need to take personally. If you're a person that decides you're going to be a person that carries a concealed weapon, get the training, join the club. Email me, joemshow@gmail.com, if you want an idea where you are in good clubs. And they'll be happy to instruct you there on everything, from the range etiquette to cleaning your weapon to storing the weapon. They know the laws so that you're not in violation. Although here in this state, they tend to pull this old trick where you're totally legal when you go to bed, but when you wake up the next day, you're all of a sudden a felon because they changed the law. So this looks very premeditated because of the coordination. Furthermore, the young age of the victims, this emphasizes the devastating impact of violence on the lives of teenagers. Public spaces meant for entertainment and to socialize in, they're increasingly fraught with danger, leaving communities grappling with fear and uncertainty. Events like this ripple through the communities, leaving emotional, psychological scars. The Amazura Club nightclub, a venue with a capacity of 4,000, that's a good size club, folks, in a history of hosting vibrant events, will now carry the weight of this tragedy. In the residents of Queens, already familiar with the complexities of urban living, they face some renewed concerns about their safety. The shooting also prompts discussion about the role of nightlife establishments in ensuring the safety of our patrons. While venues cannot control the actions of outsiders, incidents like this does necessitate stronger partnerships between business, law enforcement, and community leaders to enhance security measures. So the Queens shooting, it's a microcosm of national crisis again, right? Because the United States has witnessed an alarming frequency of mass shootings, each incident adding to a growing list of victims whose lives are forever altered. So addressing this issue requires multiple-pronged approach. Again, as I talked about the gun legislation, we have enough of those laws. Enforce the damn laws that are there. But you do have to get into the community engagement, grassroots initiatives aimed at conflict resolution, mentorship, providing alternatives to violence for at-risk youth. And of course, enhance law enforcement while maintaining civil liberties. Law enforcement agencies must adopt smarter, data-driven strategies to anticipate and prevent potential threats, folks. And of course, finally, folks, mental health support. Ensuring access to mental health resources can address underlying issues that may lead to violent behavior. So how many more incidents will it take before we achieve meaningful change? I don't know, but we have to wrap up the Thursday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here in AM 830 WCRN. Frankie Boyer is coming next, so stay tuned for her. Stay tuned to AM 830 WCRN all the time as far as I'm concerned, folks. Welcome to 2025. That will wrap it up for me for this week. Back Monday at 1 o'clock, folks. Take care. Joe out.